All right, another episode of FedSmart. Welcome back, everybody. We're excited to go over. It's getting towards the end of the year. As of this recording, it's late October, so we're going to talk about some end of the year things. But for those of you who are retiring, coming up the end of the year, first of next year, and we're talking to a lot of people wanting to retire. So for those of you who are retiring, congrats on your upcoming retirement. And for those of you who are retired, what we're talking about today is definitely going to be of interest for you. Stephen, this is a question we get from almost all retirees around this time of year is, okay, what's happening with the COLA, the cost of living adjustments on our pensions and Social Security, if you get that and everything?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask right now, especially since inflation used to kind of be the silent killer. Now it's screaming at everybody. So I think that's a valid question to ask: is what to expect, who qualifies, and so yeah, we'll go into all that.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, colas are always an issue, but especially right now when we have inflation and some would call it hyperinflation that we're seeing, and cost of living adjustments and increases is really important. We all know that gas and groceries and everything is going up. So and FEHB premiums, as always, going up a little bit. I think really the only thing I've seen gone down recently is the Medicare Part B premium, the standard cost of that is going down, so that's good. But cost of living adjustments, it's really important this time of year to know what's your increase going to be coming this January when it kicks in. And the reason that I was getting a lot of messages, why don't we know early on in the year? Why does it take till late October to know what our cost of living adjustment is for the coming year? And the reason is because CSRS, FERS, and Social Security all go off of the Consumer Price Index, the CPIW index to be exact. And what they do is they compare the third quarter of last year to the end of the third quarter of this year. And basically, they look at the difference between the CPIW of the third quarter of the previous year, what's the difference from the third quarter to this year, and then that's how they calculate the COLA for all of the three benefits. Now, as you guys have probably seen on our Facebook page and a lot of the announcements, the CSRS and the Social Security COLA, it's a lot easier to know what that is because that just mirrors the CPIW exactly. But the FERS, the newer system, they do it a little bit different on how they compute it. And basically, if the CPIW is 2% or less, they will get the full COLA. So if it's 1%, they get 1%. If it's 2%, they get 2%, right? But then if it is 2 or 3%, then they still get the 2%. So if it's 3%, you still get 2. Once it's above 3, FERS will get the CPIW minus 1%. So I know that's kind of confusing. So I'll go through it real quick one more time. So if it's 1 or 2%, they're going to mirror the CPIW exactly. If it's 3%, you still get 2%. Once it jumps above 3% for the CPIW, 3% difference from the previous third quarter of last year, then FERS, you're going to get everything that the CPIW was, except for minus 1%. So if you are FERS and you're getting Social Security, your Social Security portion will mirror the CPIW exactly. Your FERS portion, your FERS pension, will be the CPIW minus 1%. So for example, for those of you who have seen CSRS and FERS for this year, looking at going into 2023, for those of you listening, going into 2023, the COLA on CSRS and Social Security was 8.7%, I believe. Am I right, Stephen? And then Social
Yeah, that's right.
Security minus 1%, so 7.7. So that's how they come up with that. They're mirroring the CPI index, or FERS, you're basically getting the CPI index minus 1 since we're above 3% this year.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things to look at too is especially those who are looking at minimum retirement age, with your cost of living adjustment being over 7% coming into this next year, you do not get a cost of living adjustment until you reach age 62, unless you are a special provision. So something to consider if you are going out and you're expecting a cost of living adjustment right away. It doesn't happen until 62 if you're regular FERS.
Right. Regular FERS until 62 and CSRS or special provision, you guys will get your cost of living increases right away. And then FERS, you don't get it until 62. And then it depends on when you turn 62. It also depends on when you become eligible for retirement. You know, we have a lot of people saying, okay, I'm retiring in October of 2022. So does that mean I get the full COLA in 2023 when it kicks in? Or I turned 62 in October, so I should get the COLA, right? When it kicks in January, I should get that bigger COLA. That's actually not how it works. You get what Steven and I call a diet COLA. So it depends on what time of the year that you become either eligible for retirement or you turn 62. For those of you FERS who are turning 62, and that first year it's prorated. And on Social Security's website, they actually show the computation, and FERS goes off of the same thing. So, for example, if you're eligible in October, you know, you might get 1/4 of the COLA. It's prorated based on when you were eligible. But then going forward, every year going forward, you'll get the full COLA. So, for example, like I said, if you were retiring October of this year, you'll only be eligible for some of the COLA, but then all of 2023, you were obviously retired. So whatever the COLA is come January 2024, in my example, then you get the COLA going forward. But it depends on when you're eligible, when you turn 62, on how much of that COLA. So if you were eligible in January, you're going to get a majority of the COLA, right, for the following January. And that's how it works. It's prorated that first year, but then every year going forward, you're going to get that full COLA, not the diet COLA, going forward. So there's the CSRS, the FERS, and the Social Security components. And then for those of you guys who are listening who are still employed, when you see COLA, that is different for those of you who are still working. You know, we get pay increases for those of you still working, and that is different. They don't go off of the CPI index for that. It's a stated amount. It's not based on the CPI directly. So for those of you listening that are still working, don't think, unfortunately, that you get, when you see a COLA announced, that's for retirees only. That's not for active employees. But we do find out also in the fourth quarter, most of the time, usually November timeframe, on the planned pay increase across the board or average pay increase for those of you who are still working. So there's, you know, this time of year, a lot to consider as we're going into. We learn about FEHB increases. We learn about if there is Medicare cost increases, things like that. So at least we also get to hear about the cost of living adjustments and the pay increases for those of you still working, looking at going into January when that new year kicks in.
Yeah, so hopefully this has been helpful. We get a lot of questions every meeting about cost of living adjustments, and also just a quick housekeeping thing. We're live on Apple Podcasts. A few of you guys have asked how to share, and some people couldn't get online, or I don't know what, but we are live on Apple now, so that's good.
Right. Yeah. So pretty much, I think almost all of the podcast platforms that we wanted to be on, we're now live on. We've got a couple YouTube videos that I guess they got put as private. We'll correct that, get that back to public. So for those of you who are sharing with your friends, you can share our YouTube, you can share Apple Podcasts, you can share Spotify. We're on all of it. Or we could just go to fedsmartpodcast.com, and right on there is a list of all our providers. So that's one of the easiest ways, really. Send our website link to your colleagues who want to listen to the podcast, and they can listen right on there on the RSS feed, or it will show all the different platforms that were available on that they can listen to as they're driving home. That's where we get the most listens, people who are leaving work and listening to our podcast. So, and Stephen and I have several podcasts coming out the fourth quarter here. We've got several before the year ends. We've got a lot coming out the first of the year. A lot of really good topics, pertinent topics. But as always, right on FedSmartPodcast.com or FedRetirementConsultants.com. You can also always ask any question that you have. We kind of go broad in the podcast on purpose. We don't give advice. We try not to make it too specific. So if you have a specific question on how it pertains to you, feel free to message us on one of those platforms. If you're listening on Facebook, you can message us on Facebook and we'll get you an answer. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We got another one coming real quick, so keep an eye out for that. And again, it's coming to the end of the year, so have a great Thanksgiving, holiday season, Christmas season, and New Year's coming up. It'll be 2023 before we blink, Steven. So everybody, appreciate you
Yeah, me
listening
too.
this year. And
I gotta decorate our cactus
yeah,
out here in
yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah, out there in Arizona. We already got snow here in Colorado, so it's already
Yeah.
beginning to feel a lot like Christmas out here. So maybe I'll have to come down. Maybe I think we should record the next one live in Arizona so I can get away from the snow a little bit. So,
Yeah, bring
but
your
no,
bring your t-shirt and shorts.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, we got a lot of podcasts done this year. We got a couple more coming the rest of this year, and looking forward to 2023. So thanks again, everybody listening, and hopefully that gives you good information on COLA and pay increases, and we'll catch you on the next one. FedSmart podcast is meant for informational purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. FedSmart, Jesse Black, Stephen Puckett, and Federal Retirement Consultants are not affiliated with any government agency or OPM. Jesse Black offers securities through Creative One Securities, LLC, member FINRA SIPC, and Jesse Black and Stephen Puckett offer advisory services through Creative One Securities, LLC, an investment advisor. Federal Retirement Consultants, FedSmart, are not affiliated with Creative One Securities, LLC. For more information, you can visit fedretirementconsultants.com.